Daniel's Horror Talk. My name is Daniel Richardson, and I guess I'll just go ahead and do a quick, explanation as to why this is the third podcast that we've had under the TPS banner. Plain and simple, I recently not recently, I guess about a year ago, had my very first kid at the age of 36. So I was 36, he was just born. Anyways, and so, finding time to do these extra little projects, because the TPS YouTube channel was always meant to just be kind of a placeholder, something, an outlet to do stuff while we're, in between making movies or whatnot. Unfortunately, it seems like there's always a lot of issues that come up while you're trying to make movies, so turned out we were using this YouTube channel quite a bit. The YouTube channel, we had multiple shows on there, mostly just me running my mouth about horror films. There were other stuff, but we'll get into that in a second. But then we also had podcasts, and the first one that we had was a TPS Talk with my good friend Josh Cheney, Jason Bell, and Ren Fields. And the four of us got together and just started talking horror. But I knew right off the bat it was going to be short-lived, because at that point my girlfriend Angel was pregnant with Adrian, my son, and I didn't know what to expect having a kid in the house. I've never had a baby in the house, so in my mind I just went worst case scenario, kid be screaming the entire time. And I feel like that, all three of these people, my friends, they're not going to complain even if they are just having a miserable time. Like, I just imagine the four of us sitting around trying to talk about, fucking some kind of Dracula movie, and then Adrian just screaming in the background. And they're too polite to be like, yeah, this ain't working. And so I just kind of put a kibosh on that after 3 episodes. I hated doing it, but, it was what it was. Turns out, though, during that time, when Adrian was born, that kid slept a lot. Like, seriously, dude, he'd sleep, wake up, you'd change his diaper, he'd eat, go back to bed, and then wake up, we'd change him, feed him, and he'd go back to bed. Like, the first 6 months or so, 5 or 6 months, was just fucking incredible. I missed those 5 or 6 months, I'll be honest with you. Anyways, so I just realized I'm doing a podcast without the video for the first time. Like, we always did videos on the other podcast. So, like, the smile and the sarcasm may not come across. It may just sound like a psychotic guy just yelling into the void. Anyways, but no, so during those, early years of his birth, I was able to keep doing the YouTube shows, and me and Josh actually came back with another podcast. It was the Half Hour Bullshit, and we ran that for about 5 episodes. And then that's when Adrian started getting older, and he was kind of running around getting into things, and unfortunately we could only record, during the day, because me and Josh both have full-time jobs, and so it wasn't, wasn't viable anymore. Couldn't do it logistically. So anyways, so we canceled that show, and I kept hanging on to the YouTube channel as long as I could, or the shows on the YouTube channel as long as I could. A lot of those shows I'd record at night, as I'm doing right now. And anyways, it got to a point where I was just getting way too tired. Because the shows that were running at that point, I had a show called Journey Through the Dark Side, which me and my friend Simon would chronologically review every Undertaker match he had on pay-per-view. And that was the show I was really wanting to hang on to the most, because we didn't record here, we recorded down at his place. Unfortunately, it just seemed like, because he also, like, everybody I associate with has full-time jobs. Like, we're all fucking working. And so anyways, it got to a point where, he was kind of, backing out on certain episodes, and I had to go home alone. And that was a show I didn't really want to do alone. Like, that was a show that was designed for me and him. So anyways, I kind of threw in the towel on that until we kind of, calm down and figure out what, get on the same schedule, which is tough. Like I said, I'm not one to try to use Adrian as an excuse, but, my first kid, he's only 1 right now. And so, yeah, it's one of those things where it's just like, it's hard to find any kind of, spare time. And I can't expect, Simon to wait on me, like, clear your schedule, make room for my schedule. No, you can't do that. You got to work together. And, that dude's busy as well. So it's just like, we had to kind of slow that down. So hopefully they'll pick that up at some point. But, right now, just not in the cards. The other two shows I did solo was the Shudder Slaughterhouse, which was a show that, because I watch a lot of movies on Shudder, and I was like, you know what, I want to talk about these movies, but I don't want to talk about them with. So it was just basically me just reviewing every movie I watched on Shudder that way. New, old, didn't matter. Just whatever I watched on Shudder, I'd come out and talk. The problem with that came was I was starting to watch less and less movies because, refer back to Adrian. So the only time you get to watch movies is at night now. You don't get as much in as I used to. So it just became like I'm not really watching a lot of these movies now, so it kind of makes less sense to make these. And then the other show I did was the Retro Horror Academy. And in this show, it was just me talking, but I was chronologically critiquing and ranking. Sorry, got a little bit of indigestion on this side. This is a very unprofessional podcast. You'll learn that very quickly. Anyways, I was ranking horror films from the inception of horror films. So I went back to 1896, the very first horror film, House of the Devil, or The Haunted Castle. It goes by multiple titles, but just kind of reviewing them year by year and just kind of taking a look at the year in horror with each of those. And so that was kind of the big thing I was doing then. Again, the trouble I ran into, and really not so much watching the movies, because these were films that, I don't know, they're not that complex, they're old, so I was able to watch these on my break, or, just when I got, spare time. The problem with this was, I did a lot of editing on the shows. Like, if you go back on our YouTube channel and look up the, Retro Horror Academy episodes, there's, use a lot of footage, and there's a lot of editing went into it, a lot of work. And I was getting to the point where I just didn't have time to work. And so where it all kind of came to an end was we went on kind of a seasonal break. I always kind of take the end of the year off. So usually October or November. And it's probably around November when I took off this past year. Went ahead and just took a little break. Promised to come back with both shows, Shudder Slaughterhouse and Retro Horror Academy. However, it was during that time that we started filming a short film for our other YouTube segment called TPS Shorts, which is just a bunch of short films we shoot exclusively for YouTube. Like, they don't do the festival circuit or anything like that. And these were just meant to, some fun time killers to do and just something to do, again, just between real shoots. And when I started doing that, I don't know, the itch to get back out and, start filming again was hitting me. And our current project right now is a film called the Copperville Chronicles. And this thing has been, since we wrapped up and did post-production and premiered Unspeakable Acts back in 2018, we set upon doing Copperville Chronicles. And in classic TPS fashion, we just haven't got around to doing it. For various reasons. There's a lot of start and stop moments. We had multiple directors. It's supposed to be, it still is an anthology series, but initially it was going to have multiple directors from TPS. And just kind of one by one, people were kind of backing out for various reasons. We had one person move, and then one person left the company. And so it got to a point where, and then Josh, he filmed his segment, but then he wanted to add more to it. And as I'm watching it, and I'm like, man, I hate the fact that he's kind of waiting for us. But at the same time, he keeps kind of building this, I don't know. It's going to be his masterpiece. It really is. And so he's kind of fleshing it out, and he's going to turn it. I think it's still going to be a short, but it's going to be a longer short now. And so, we kind of discussed it, and I was like, man, I don't want to be the one holding you back here. I was like, take this, run with it, we'll still promote it, we'll still produce it like you do all the other TPS shorts, I'll do my best to, promote. 'Cause that's the thing, we're really good at shorts, I noticed. Unspeakable Acts did not get a whole lot of acclaim. We got into one film festival, and then we did get reviewed. It wasn't a great review, although I enjoyed it, because I think any press is good press, and I'm an egomaniac enough that, even when I'm getting kind of slammed in a review, I find the positives of it. Apparently I was the guy's favorite character, and he said it was a weird fucking movie, and I was like, well, he's not lying about that. So, but no, so that was really the only praise we got, except for we did get a mention on The Last Drive-In with Joe Bob Briggs, which highlighted my fucking life right there. It's number 2. Obviously, the birth of my son's number 1. You got to say that. But close fucking second is having Joe Bob Briggs talk about me and my movie on his show. I wrote a letter in, did not expect it to get read on air. I just wrote to him, and I sent him my movies because he was all about, he did this big speech, his Keep Rolling speech. Another thing I urge you guys to go on YouTube and check out. Keep Rolling. And anyways, it just inspired me to write him about the ups and downs of us making Unspeakable Acts. So I wrote him a letter, and then me and Simon basically autographed some posters for him and Darcy. And then at that time we had two DVDs out. We had Unspeakable Acts and we had a Public Domain Dungeon DVD. I won't go into that right now, obviously, but anyways, we sent those to him. So yeah, he read the letter online, and I was like, "Holy shit!" And we had a nice little spike in sales after that. People were very curious about the movie. So yeah, thank you, Joe Bob. I can never thank you enough for that. But that was pretty much it. The film itself didn't really go on to much acclaim. However, we've had really good luck. Well, what I consider good luck with our short films. I will always be the first to admit, once again, I'm from Bedford, Indiana. My entire crew is from Southern Indiana. We're stretched across a couple of counties, and that's it. But no, we make no budget films in the sense of literally, there's no money going into these hardly. What little bit of money we do gather up for them, it's cheap stuff we're buying. We're going to the Dollar Tree to buy, our props or makeup or whatever. So, we're underground. We have bad audio equipment. We got, poor cameras. And I'll be the first to admit, as far as the look of these films go, aesthetically, yeah, they're shit. They're dog shit. It works for Unspeakable Acts only because it was meant to be found footage. So, it can look pretty shabby. But the rest of the films are, straight up films. They're meant to be but they, clearly, if you look at them before you give them a chance, you're going to turn them off because you're going to be like, wow, this is shit. This is clearly, some films were shot just straight on a, phone. Other ones we have equipment, but not very good. Either way, that's just the reality of it. But some of these shorts have broken through in big ways, and Entropy got into a couple of festivals. So did Chris Cage, Modern Day Van Helsing. But the two that really kind of broke out first was Self Isolation, a short film I did initially for the Corman. Quarantine Film Festival, or the title is something like that. Roger Corman, director, and the only reason I even entered into his film festival was I was like, I just want to die knowing that Roger Corman watched one of my films. That's it. That's to me that was the prize. But at the same time, this other festival came out with similar rules to that. Because there's a whole list of rules of had to be shot on phone. Because this was during the pandemic, the initial shutdown. I was home for 3 weeks. During the shutdown. So it was during that time. And of course, it had to just be a film that you can shoot on your phone, under 2 minutes, in your house, with only people, from your house, whatever. And so we did it. We shot this thing. And like I said, I submitted to two different ones. I shot to the Roger Corman one, which I didn't, even rank on that one. But the other one I did, I got a lot of positive feedback. Not just from people who left comments on the video. I got some feedback from horror movie insiders, literal horror community people. Kane Hodder, fucking Kane Hodder. For those who somehow don't know who Kane Hodder is, he was Jason Voorhees in Friday 13th, 7 through 10. Said my movie was weird and clever. Fucking love you, Kane. Thank you very much. I had so many different people. Debbie Rashawn she's a scream queen that did a lot of trauma films. And does a lot, other, stuff. She, went on, she loved the twist ending at the end, and, she just absolutely loved it. Big blurb. She gave us a big paragraph, which I put into a trailer. I put all these people's little quotes into a trailer to promote Self-Isolation. It was shortly after that, and I should mention too, it was placed in the other film festival is called the Quarantine Short Film Competition, and we placed in the top 12. And I got nominated for Most Clever Film, so I thought that was really awesome. Immediately after that, I was contacted by this guy who was at the One Reeler short film competition. And this was a legit, this, I'm not saying these other competitions weren't legit, but they were more like a regional thing. This was a legit fucking IMDb qualifying film festival. And our film won, got a special mention award. And I was fucking thrilled. And they even sent me a medal through the mail, which is hung on my wall right now. I'm looking at it. And that was, at that time, I was like, holy shit. We ain't going to get any higher than this. And then from there, it got put into other competitions as well. Didn't do as well. I mean, that was the height of our success with self isolation. But then, less than a year later, my girlfriend completes her film, Attack of the Giant Ladybug, and we start sending it in there. And again, this was a film, and this is nothing against it because it is the only TPS production that we've done that I did not direct. I've either directed or co-directed all the other ones before that one, but Attack of the Giant Ladybug was the only one that I was just producer and star of, and did the editing, all the other stuff that goes with independent filmmaking, but or underground filmmaking, I guess I should say. But anyways, it was my girlfriend. She wrote and directed it, and it wasn't that I didn't have any faith in this thing. I have, I love every single film we've churned out, but I'm also very realistic. These are little no budget whatever films, and so you just try to stay very realistic. It's like, okay, guys, the only people who's going to watch this is our close friends and family. You never expect it to catch an audience, and this thing went out and was doing just that. It was accepted to all these different film festivals. It won a special mention award. It was Gravedigger Days Anthology Film Fest or something like that. Won a special mention award. She actually got put in his movie that he released. It was basically just like the winners of the competition put together in a anthology film. She got a special thanks on that. And then recently we attended or we didn't attend physically, our film attended the MoCo International Film Festival, and it won 2 awards. It got an award for Best Experimental Film, and then me and Josh each got an award for Best Producer. So it's just like, holy shit, again, I don't expect any, like I didn't expect any of this. Especially because, I mean, to describe Attack the Giant Ladybug, it's a Z-level monster movie. Not a B flick, it's a Z flick. Like, this movie really is just, it's Z grade all around. But, doesn't mean we didn't put a lot of hard work into it and a lot of love and attention, and it's just really great that it's getting the accolades and the attention I believe it does deserve. More than it deserves, really, at this point. I think it's it's definitely blew past my expectations or wants. Like, if we would just got 30 views on YouTube and people going, hey, nice job, that is what I thought it would deserve. But the fact that it's going on to film festivals and winning awards, that's just fucking crazy right there. So anyways, the point I was trying to make, so when I told Josh, I was like, listen, man, just release your short independently of that. We'll release it as its own separate entity outside the Copperville Chronicles. He agreed. He thought that'd be a better idea, and this way he can expand more on it and doesn't have to fit into the framework that we got Copperville Chronicles doing. My girlfriend's on her second film as well. Right now we're just kind of waiting for it's winter time, so we're just kind of waiting for the weather to pick back up to do the second half of the short. But her short was we initially had the title Jesus Christ versus the Easter Bunny. We changed it, not because of that. We had a lot of things fall through. Like, this was kind of one of those disaster things that we tried to film, and just we had a lot of no shows. We had a lot of people not show up. It was just, it's been one of those grueling filming experiences. But we were able to kind of cobble together a second story. Like, the stuff we couldn't pull off, due to this, we're going to be able to pull off a secondary story here. And she kind of wants to do it, again, outside of this. So I was like, hey, no problem. Once again, she's already batted 1,000 on her first film, so fuck it, let's try this. So it's still, we don't have we got a working title, and that's about it. Bad Friday is what we're calling it, but again, that's kind of a working title. I'm not sure if we're going to settle on that or not, but either way, she's wanting to push forward on that, solo as well. So that just kind of left me and this other filmmaker and on Copperville Chronicles, and so I kind of talked to him and told him, I'm planning on kind of just the way I have different ideas now for Copperville Chronicles, so I'm going to go one direction with it. And I told him, if you still want to do yours, because I hadn't really heard from this guy in a while, and I was like, I don't, I'm not assuming you quit or anything, but I hadn't heard anything. And he's like, no, he still wants to do it, but he said he's cool doing his solo as well. So I decided to take Copperville Chronicles, and I'm going to take 4 of my short, film ideas and cobble them together into this film. So, and I feel like, for me personally, I kind of like anthology films from a single director, a la Creepshow, the movie. George Romero did that, and then you got Trick or Treat, Michael Dorter did that. And again, you get one vision, and even if the stories are kind of uneven, visually it's all one vision. And now that we're kind of whittling it down on these directors, I was like, you know what, I want to move forward and do this solo. So that's where we're at right now, and I'm currently in the middle of writing. So once I'm starting writing this thing, it just became clear, like, I don't have time now to do these other shows. Like, if I want to, get this script done before springtime so we can, start shooting, reshooting the Copperville Chronicles, get that, reset up, I might not have time to do these YouTube things. So I made the decision to kind of just cut these channels out. Occasionally, we'll still do little shorts or whatever to throw on here, but, again, it's just like, yeah, it is what it is. However, the need for me to just talk, I didn't realize how great that was. Speaking of which, me can have a little drink real quick. But the need for me to just kind of shout into the void about horror films, it's just too great. It's just too great. And so I decided, you know what? I still want to do this. Our channel, our YouTube channel, it's getting a lot of hits, but they're not watching the shows. They're watching more like the behind the scenes stuff, the little mockumentary. I mean, a couple episodes will kind of take off, I think, for the wrong reasons. The two biggest, I did a show before, the horror movie review with Daniel Richardson, and it seems like the two biggest shows or the episodes that are just dominating as far as views go is Love Letters of a Portuguese Nun, which is sexploitation. So of course people are going to tune in for that as opposed to horror. And then the other one is like The Night Child. And I think the weird thing about that movie is the movie, I don't think it's even supposed to be in the US. I was able to find a bootleg copy online from like a Russian site or whatever. But the big controversy surrounding this movie is it depicts a scene, implied sex scene between a full-grown woman and a young child, and the kid's like literally a child. Like, it's not like some 18, 19-year-old who's just really small for his age. Like, no, this is a kid, and there's nothing explicit in the scene, but it does show him and her together when she's nude. There was no like him on one side, and then they cut to her. No, it's like they're in the frame together. And so I'm guessing there's like, nope, that's too weird, and we're not doing that. And so, anyways, I reviewed it, and it like took off, and I was like, really? Like this one, like this skeezy one, is the one that gets the views? But no, our channel really only gets views on a lot of our behind the scenes stuff, our shorter videos, our short films. They're the one that kind of pick up the views. So, again, this in our podcast never did much on YouTube. They did, okay on Anchor and Spotify and all that stuff. But as far as actual, on YouTube, no one's really listening to this. And there's no guarantee anybody's going to listen to this, like I said. But I can't not talk horror or horror movies. And so even if no one's listening out there, I'm okay with that. I'm just going to upload these just as like self-therapy and just as exhaust to get all this, horror out of my, mouth. So, take another drink, sorry. That's the downside about doing it solo. You got a partner doing a podcast with you. You can take a drink while he's talking. But so, anyways, what to expect from this podcast? I'm sorry, it's a 23, minute intro here, but really there is no set parameter. I still kind of want to push forward. In fact, this episode will have the episode I was going to shoot for the Retro Horror Academy. I will just pretty much give a brief rundown of that on this one, and then decide. I'll probably, if I get time, if I get time to watch anything on Shudder, I will do like a Shudder Spotlight where I'll just maybe do one movie a week. If I get even if I get time to do that, I'll try to do one movie a week. But no, other than that, I'm just gonna talk, news. Whatever, if I did see any other movies that wasn't Shudder related either, I'll talk to them. Just kind of run my mouth, and I'll aim for 30 minutes, but definitely won't go over an hour. So between 30 to 60 minutes a week. After the kid goes to bed and I get my supper in me, I come in here to my little office and I cut these things right here. So, so with that said, let's get into let's talk about first, I guess, we do our little Shudder Spotlight here. Last week I watched a film. They're really pushing hard right now. Their big theme, I guess, this month is folk horror. movies like the Wicker Man and shit like that. That has kind of a folksy, urban legend kind of vibe. Mostly woodland creatures and shit, Wendigo, stuff like that, type horror films. And that's their big thing. And they have a documentary on there right now, and I'm blanking on the name. I'm sorry. This is one of those I'm more shooting from the hip. I don't have anything in front of me, written down. But they got a documentary right now that's like an entire exploration of folk horror, which I do plan on checking out eventually when I get time. Didn't get a chance to watch it, but I did watch a movie called The Blood on Satan's Claw. The Blood on Satan's Claw is basically it's a small English village, and this is I don't know, 1500s, 1600s probably, maybe even a little later, maybe 1700s. They're dressed like pilgrims. Everybody's like a fucking pilgrim in this movie. So anyways, but basically, devil worshipping becomes the new fad among the kids there. Like every youth, child, teenager is a devil worshiper now, and of course they're getting others join their group, but it's kind of sweeping the village, the entire countryside or whatever. So I had I didn't know anything about this. I just know they got all this folk horror up right now, and I was like, well, I'll just check this one. And I felt like of all the things I saw, this is the one that looked, I don't know, this looked the most interesting and had the best title, Blood on Satan's Claw. Come on, what's not great about that? The funny thing is, after I watched it, because that's kind of my thing. Every time I watch a movie, I always go to Wikipedia and IMDb and look at the trivia page. I just like to, find out all the little facts or whatever about these films. And this movie bombed when it came out, but in time, it really developed a cult following. And now it's considered one of the pioneering films in the folk horror, whatever, renaissance there in the late 70s, early 80s. And I don't get it. I'm sorry. I was not a big fan of this movie. To me, it jumped all over the place. It felt very uneven in areas. And I think the reason for that is initially it was supposed to be anthology. They were going to do 3 different stories and then just have them all kind of, have a common theme. And the producers were like, no, you're not doing that. Just put them all together, make it work. And I feel like that's definitely the biggest thing about this movie is just I don't know, just it jumps around too much. It's just very oddly paced. And then it just, I don't know, it seems rushed at times as well. There's just there's a scene where guy's he's up in his room and he's having this hallucination or whatever, and then he just wakes up normal in the village square or whatever, and the kids are the Satanists have risen and everything, and I don't know, it's just what, can we not flesh this out? Same thing with the character of the preacher of the town. I don't, it's weird because I can't get a handle on it. Is he supposed to be good or bad? And maybe that's the point. Maybe he's supposed to be some kind of gray area. It reminded me a lot of Witchfinder General. Vincent Price was hunting down witches, but you find out he's very crooked, very corrupt. Doing whatever he wants, whenever he wants. Taking advantage of these young girls, torturing them, even he knows they're not witches, and you feel like that's how this guy is. But then by the end, he's a hero, and it's well, not really. He seems like he's kind of a dick, and he does seem like he's going to abuse his power. This the way he was treating his nephew and his new wife, and I don't know. I don't know. I wasn't huge on this movie. I guess I should just say that. The biggest thing I guess about this film also is just that the ending is so. It feels rushed because at one point there's this big ceremony, but you don't really see them raise Satan. Or, you're going to bring the demon or the devil or whatever it's supposed to be. It's just the heroes show up and Satan's already there, and it's what? And then they kill him easily. He gets some, sorry, spoilers alert. They impale him pretty quickly and then put him down. It's just well, it seemed like a lot of build for nothing. I don't know. I wasn't huge on it. Either way, though, it is considered a classic, and my point of view has always been watch a movie, just watch it. I'm not going to sit here and be don't watch. No. Watch it. Check it out for yourself. You may like it. A lot of people do, apparently. Just wasn't my cup of tea. But yeah, I don't know. Wasn't feeling it. Has a lot of nudity in it, though. I'm always for that. And yeah, there's a scene where this woman a young girl gets raped, and I don't know. I couldn't, because a lot of white people in this movie. Whole cast is white. A lot of honkies, and a lot of them look alike. And so I couldn't tell if this is like her dead brother back from the life assaulting her. I tried to look it up. I couldn't find anything one way or another, so I don't know if it was or wasn't. But she has a dead brother early on. He gets killed in a pretty. And that's the thing. There are certain scenes that are pretty creepy, and that was one of them. When they played this game with him, I really dug that scene. And then this sexual assault scene and the build up to it, I really dug it. And there's a couple other scenes that the build's nice, but just all together, just I don't know, just didn't click for me. But yeah, at one point, this random guy with a head wound shows up, and I was like, well, wait a minute, is this the brother that just died? If it is, how's he come? I don't know. And then how they chose who's in the group and who's not, because they all get infected by the Devil's Mark, which is like a patch of fur that just grows on you randomly, but they end up sacrificing that one girl. They don't say why she gets killed. No one else did. I don't know. The Blood on Satan's Claw. That's my Shudder Spotlight for the week, and honestly, you can move past it. It was given 4 out of 5 skulls from the Shudder community. I'm giving it 2 out of 5. Like I said, it has some okay moments, and it's a low 2 out of 5 I'm giving it. I feel like I should give it 1, but I'll be nice. I'll give it 2 skulls out of 5. But yeah, I just... not feeling it. Just was not feeling it. So I guess now I can kind of move over to the Retro Horror Academy segment, if you will. So what the show basically was, like I mentioned earlier, I go through year by year, break down what happened that year in horror, and then go ahead and rank the movies, and then usually the top 3, well, not usually, every time, the top 3 films would get the awards, the Bronze Skull, the Silver Skull, and the Golden Skull. And, that was kind of the whole gimmick behind it. Funny thing was, I didn't actually have physical trophies for these movies until the end of the season. And back in November, because I bought these skulls, these ceramic skulls from Dollar Tree, and then I bought these little wooden bases from Joann Fabrics, or Walmart, I can't remember, bought them from somewhere. But anyways, excuse me. I bought these and then painted them up, gold, silver, bronze. And then they were going to be like the physical trophies. I was going to hold them up the winner of the Bronze Skull is this film. And then, like I said, we cut it out, and now we're just doing this via podcast with no picture. So, yeah, I got these this golden, silver, and bronze skull that I guess I'll just display randomly in the house. I don't know, I'll probably find a use for them later down the road. But anyway, I thought that's kind of funny. So let's get into. And I do urge anybody who wants to know more about these early horror movies, check out my Retro Horror Academy playlist on the YouTube channel. Yes, or wherever you're listening. If you don't know, all of our social media links are on Anchor, and then if you're watching this on YouTube or listening to this on YouTube, you can just go to our page. But I covered 20 something 20 plus years, 24 years of horror there, and I feel like a lot of people should know about these movies. I'm not saying they're great. I'm just saying that these were the foundation on which horror was built on. So I really think that give them a check them out, at least inform yourself about them. You may find something you like. You never know. I was surprised to find some movies here that I really do genuinely like. Like I will end up going out and buying them because I actually like these films. You don't have to buy these either. A lot of these are public domain right now, or all of them are public domain right now. So you can find these usually on YouTube or the Internet Archive, I think is what it is. This is where they have a lot of public domain music, videos, movies, stuff like that. Anyways, you can find this shit anywhere. But I wouldn't mind. They did Dante's Inferno, and I would love to get that from 1911. Apparently, Tangerine Dream did an entire new score for it, and I'm just like, you know what? Yeah, that's something I would literally invest some money into. So, So let's get to 1920. At this point now, this is the era of German expressionism, and anybody who's ever seen a Tim Burton movie, what German expressionism and that gothic look is. Lots of points, lots of doorways that aren't perfect rectangles. The windows, they're not squares, they're rhombuses. You got roads that just kind of from a perspective, a road will always, the side of the road will always kind of slant inwards. You get this little narrow thing, but in these German expression, films, it's like you're already in the narrow part of the road. It's Gotham City. It's fucking Gotham City from Tim Burton's 1989 Batman. That's exactly what it is. So, anyways, that was kind of the big thing that kind of broke out this year, and it would get a lot of these German filmmakers noticed, and they would get called into Hollywood, and their careers would just kind of explode there. The biggies that they always talk about from this era, from this year especially, is the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari and the Golem. Rewind here. The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, that's probably the big one. Like, that's the biggest example, and probably the most, best use of it. Like, I mean, there really is no other film that really will compare as far as look and style of the German Expressionism than this one. And this thing came out, and it's weird because when I looked it up, it was just like such conflicting things. Like, some sources were like, this thing was a huge hit right out the gate, and then others were like, no, it wasn't that big at all. It caught on later on, it would catch fire, kind of become the first cult film, which I think one of the critics, or newer critics in a retrospective, say like it was the first cult film. And it's just like, but was it though? If it was a big international hit right out the gate, I don't know. So, anyways, the Golem's another one that had that kind of look and feel and vibe to it. The Golem is actually the only version of the Golem trilogy or full version, that's out. The first movie, Der Golem, it's lost. I don't know, the film's damaged. It, just considered lost of time. That's a lot of what I'm coming across when I'm looking at these early films. I'm hearing about like all these great films, but they're all lost, So just one of those tragic things. The sequel, The Golem and the Dancing Girl, it too is mostly lost. I think there's like a reel left, and you can find it online. But the Golem's the only one that really survived. And then I believe the full title is like The Golem and How He Came to Be. So these were the two big heavy hitters coming out this year. But actually, we got several films to actually look at. This is actually the biggest episode, or would have been the biggest episode, of the Retro Horror Academy. So here it is. We got 6 films that we're going to rank. And I'll start with number 6. The number 6 film is a film called The Penalty. This is Lon Chaney. And actually, I think this is like his first big film. This is his breakout film. And little horror film, or not even a horror film, sorry. That's why it's ranked number 6. I want to express that right now. How I get these nominations, these lists, is first I'll go on Wikipedia, and they just got like, breakdown year by year, a list of all the horror films that came out that year, or if they consider a horror film. So then I go to, I cross-reference that with IMDb, because I'm a big fucking nerd when it came to this channel, or this concept, and I make sure that they actually have 2 things. One, the horror genre listed for it, because a lot of times you'll go over there and it didn't say it's a horror film, and I'm like, well, you know what, if you can't cross both these things off your list, you're not going to be put in there. And so it must have horror as its genre listing on IMDb. And then secondly, I look at the release date. It has to have like, a complete release date. Because a lot of times you'll find that these, shorts were just kind of like cobbled together, and no one knows, like, when it came out. And I'm like, that don't seem fair. Like, I want an actual track. I want a trace. I want, a record of like, when this film came out, what country it came out in, all that stuff. And sometimes you find it, and sometimes you don't. And I'm just like, to me, it doesn't feel like a real release then if no one knows when it came out. The funny thing is, and it may be, you may be asking yourself like, well, come on, Daniel, that seems a little unfair. A long time ago, records get destroyed, whatever. But it's like the very first horror film, it has a release date. There are, reviews of it. There's, a record of this film. So it's just like, no, if the first one can pull it off, the rest of them should be able to follow suit. So that's kind of my whole thing. And then, like I said, as long as it was released that year, I put it on the list and we move on. The other bad thing is I have to be able to watch this film too. And a lot of these films are lost. So can't get a copy of it, then you can't get in the thing. The funny thing about that is the Golem, I had to take both of them out because the first 2, because there just wasn't a full version of it anywhere online at all. And so it's just like, unfortunately, these were considered great films when they came out, but they have fallen by the wayside. So, anyways, the penalty, getting back on track, it's about this guy who's a double amputee who rises through the ranks. He's a criminal mastermind in San Francisco, and he's about to bring his master plan, how he's going to loot and rob San Francisco blind, while also getting revenge on the doctor who amputated his legs. So, the first thing I got to tell you about this film is, like I said, Lon Chaney's in it. It's his first major film. Lon Chaney, who is a master of makeup, horror makeup, that's what he's known for. And even though this ain't a horror film per se, even though it has the IMDb listing as horror, when you watch it, it's not really a horror film. It's more of a crime drama. But to achieve this double amputation thing, he custom made like these buckets with like a little thing cut out of them, and he literally, like, he put his knees, like he sank down into it, but like he bent his legs, his bottom part of his legs, back, and then strapped him in a harness. So like he was bent like a fucking, convertible sofa, like literally his legs are folded up, straight up his back and attached to him. And he was lowered into these buckets. And then they put these pants on him so you can't even tell. And they got... Sorry. Sorry, just COVID. We're fine. Anyways, he's got his legs up to his back. They're got a harness. He has a big overcoat. He's always wearing an overcoat, so that helps hide it. But when you actually see him moving around on set, it's fucking amazing. Like, it really is. I'm just like, I'm blown away by how awesome this effect looks. Like, for 1920, you can't even see. You can't tell. You just can't tell. And thing is, though, it was so hard for him to keep doing that he could only film for like 14 minutes at a time. And then they had to cut and then get him out of there, and he'd have to go rest up. And then he'd come back, get back in it, and shoot for another 14 minutes. And you could only do it in short bursts like that. And it's like, god damn, like, talk about being just a master of your craft and taking it so professionally. I don't know. That to me just blows me away. So when I watch this film, it's probably my favorite film from this 6, but I only rank it, the Academy only ranks it low because it's really not a horror film. And I just kind of feel like, I know we're maybe splitting hairs when it comes to these later ones. I don't know, but to me, it just, I don't know. It is what it is. So anyways, that's, it has this incredible makeup job. He looks great. Although it's funny that, so how the movie starts off is a doctor makes a mistake. He was trying to, I forget, the kid had some kind of illness and he thought he had to amputate the legs. And so he ends up amputating both of them. And then another doctor shows up and is like, what the hell did you do? You weren't supposed to amputate the legs. But the other doctor kind of covers for the doctor because he's young and he's like, you got a bright future ahead of you. And so he's like, I'll clarify that yes, you were supposed to amputate, so it's okay. But the kid overhears it. So the kid grows up, and of course, as he tries to tell him, like, I overheard him, they chopped my legs off for no reason. The doctors kind of work together and are like, oh no, it's the anesthetic. He's hallucinating and he hurt us, And so this kid grows up just hate-filled. And he turns into Lon Chaney and becomes a criminal mastermind. The problem is, he's like, when we get to that, when we jump ahead, to where we're at now, he's already the boss. He's already like this criminal mastermind. I was like, to me, the better movie would have been seeing his rise to the top. I would have loved to see this, double amputee guy, where everybody is, and they're too afraid to even make fun of him in an un-PC time like the 20s. Nobody called him a cripple. Like, they would say it behind his back, but they were even afraid to do that because, like, what if he overheard it? He would straight up murder you. And I'm like, I want to see the viciousness of this guy, right? His rise to the top, but they really kind of yada yada over that. I don't know. The movie's great, though. I was really surprised how much I liked it. While he's, getting his, crew together, and he's got this ridiculous plan to have everybody kind of like rob these banks at the exact same time and loot at the exact same time. Like, he's got his own little like underground army built up. He also ends up hooking up with this, or didn't hook up with her, sorry. There's a young girl that turns out to be the daughter of the doctor who amputated on him, right? So he ends up getting a job being her model, and he's modeling for her, and she's a sculptor, and she's making it's like the only horror tie-in, I guess, was she's making a sculpture of the devil and she's using him as a template. And anyways, so his plan is to get close to her and then kill her off as his revenge to the Doctor. Really solid movie. When this thing came out, it was a huge hit. I forget the name of the director, and I apologize for that. When I did the show, I had all these notes written out. Just doing this like this, I'm just kind of breezing through it. But like these guys are going to work together like another I don't know, a few more times. And I want to say, if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong, and forgive me if I am. I think they would eventually do The Hunchback of Notre Dame together, if I'm not mistaken. The other interesting footnote here is the producer of this film was Samuel Goldwyn, who is, yes, that Goldwyn in MGM, Mayor Goldwyn Mayer. Yeah, he was that guy. So it's funny that he did this film and then would go on to make MGM and all that. So I don't know, I just thought that was kind of interesting as well. So anyways, yes, the penalty, it's number 6. But if I'm being 100% honest, yeah, it's number 1 in my book. Like, seriously. This film has a 7.4 on IMDb, and it does have an 83% on Rotten Tomatoes. I had these little notes written down, so I guess I'm full of shit when I said I was just going to, wing this. But yeah, so anyways, the penalty. So at number 5, it's a film called Anita. It's Russian, and it's about this young girl who basically goes to this hypnotist who's not very good. Like, it's a stage show, and he's just kind of a bumbling idiot, but he puts her under, and bad things happen. This movie was dreadful to get through. It was really boring. Even the critics at the time said this was garbage. This film would get remade a few years later, and it would become a hit. So, we'll go more into that maybe down the road. But yeah, this film was just dreadful, but, had more of a horror vibe than, The Penalty, so it's number 5. It currently has a 3.3 on Rotten Tomatoes, if that tells you anything. So, or not Rotten Tomatoes, sorry, a 3.3 on IMDb, So that brings us now to the Golem, and that's number 4, which people may be shocked that this is my number 4 and not higher on the list. And it's not a bad film. I'll tell you right now, these films from here on out, they're not bad. It's just, I don't know, they hit me in different ways. And I was so pumped to finally watch the Golem, because after hearing how great the first 2 were, and they were kind of erased from history, I was like, all right, the Golem. And I don't know, it's okay. I mean, I'm sure for its time it was fan-fucking-tastic, but watching it today, you're just kind of like, it is what it is. The basic premise of the Golem is, this rabbi, so you got this, like, in this ghetto, and they don't explain, I don't know who is the ones outside of it. I guess this is a German film, so I'm guessing, like, the Ottoman Empire, or maybe it is Germany now. I'm sorry, I'm not great on my history. It wasn't one of my strong suits, sorry. But anyways, the Jewish people, living there, they're being persecuted, and it's getting to the point where, like, the Germans, I'm going to say the Germans, I may be completely, it probably isn't even the German, because it's supposed to take place even further back. So the Empire, we'll just say the Empire, like it's fucking Star Wars or something. The Empire is going to come down and basically move all these Jews out of the ghetto and just kind of be like, hey, fuck off and go find your own area. And so there's all this tension and a lot of fear in these neighborhoods. And so the best way to describe him, I guess he's like a magician, the mad scientist with magic. He creates this figure out of clay, the Golem, and he creates him to protect him against the Empire, or not just protect him, but protect his community. So that's the basic premise of this thing. So the funny thing about this is Paul Wagner, who he did the first Golem, couple Golems. He did another film too. I'm blanking on the name of it, but he's a big time director at this point in history, and he's turned out good stuff. And so the thing is, though, the first movie he did, The Golem, it was more in vein of being a horror film, but they made him kind of water it down. They took a lot of stuff he wanted to do. They're just like, oh no, you can't do that. The articles I was reading didn't really specify what they made him cut down on, but either way, it was never the version of The Golem he wanted to do. But nonetheless, it became a huge hit, and so they did a sequel, The Golem and the Dancing Girl. They brought him back to direct it. Of course, he did it, but again, they didn't want him to do his vision. In fact, the Golem and the Dancing Girl is more of a horror comedy. I mean, I guess more comedy. I don't know if they even had the phrase horror comedy back then, but I guess the fact that it's a monster and this little girl dancing, I don't know. And once again, I don't know what the movie's about at all. I just know that it was a hit when it came out. But again, it took away all the horror. I'm going to take a quick drink. So, more of a comedy. So, when it came time to do this third film, apparently he had enough stroke to be like, you know what, fuck off. This is my movie, and we're taking it back to its roots. So, it's meant to be a prequel to the first film, but a lot of people say it's more or less just the remake. And at this point, since the other two films don't exist, it really is just its own standalone story. But he did, I guess he included it, make it more darker, and there are, there's couple kills in this thing, so it's like, it is what it is, I guess. It does classify as a horror film. It's very much what we'll see later on with Frankenstein. The Golem, he's a misunderstood creature who comes. And the thing is, like, they unleash it accidentally because you're supposed to, if you don't shut him down. So it sounds weird to say it like that because he's made out of clay and words, but still, if you don't shut him down during like some kind of lunar cycle or something like that, he can go on a rampage and nothing can stop him, right? Well, they say nothing can stop him. Something does stop him, but we'll get to that later. But anyways, the magician's about to do this because shortly before the Jews were going to be exiled from their village. The empire came down and they invited, the magician to like a festival they were doing, and he puts on a magic show for them, and they love it, and they're just like, okay, you Jews are okay, we won't kick you out. So instead of just running home immediately and shutting the Golem down, he just kind of procrastinates and then forgets to do it, and then the Golem goes crazy and goes on a kill spree. Throws one guy off a fucking building, which is batshit crazy. So anyways, this film, beloved by everybody, is a 7.2 on IMDb, and it has 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, certified fucking fresh. So when it came out, huge, massive hit as well. But just for me, like I said, I don't know, and maybe because again, it's just the way the story's told. But a lot of stuff you're just like, really, just do this or say the words now or. It's funny because, spoiler alert, how he gets stopped in the end is he's got a little, the Star of David thing in his chest. And it's the ambulance that has the word that was spoken into. And, like, the little girl, he goes to these kids. And it never really does say if he's going to hurt the kids or not. Like, I feel like he is almost like Frankenstein's monster, and he probably wouldn't have, purposely hurt the kids. I'm not saying it wouldn't have happened, but maybe it wouldn't have been, completely out of anger, more of an accidental thing. But when he picks the girl up, the girl just grabs that star right out of him, and he just tumbles down, and that's the end of the movie. And then like the villagers show up, like, oh shit, thank God, yep, saved the day. And that's what it was. Like, the magician kind of gets credit for it because he said a massive prayer right before that, and then when they find it, they're like, oh wait, your words worked, and he's like, yep, yes they did, and that's the end of the movie. It's ridiculous, but nonetheless. It's number 4. So we're going to get into the top 3 right now. And in fact, in the top 3, the bronze skull will go to Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. In fact, this isn't even the only Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde to come out. I just didn't count the other one because I couldn't find a clear release date on it. But apparently 2 of them came out the same year. And if you've been listening to the Retro Horror Academy, this movie's already been made like 4 or 5 times already. Several times. A couple has been lost already to history. We've already had 2 of them, I believe, on this show already, or in this segment already. So here it is. This one is, I guess, the bronze. We all know the story by now. Dr. Jekyll. In this version, he's purposely trying to make a formula that brings out your dark side. He believes every man has a dark side to him, and he wants to prove it. And, of course, when he brings his out, it's, Mr. Hyde. And, of course, he's a murderer. This one, I don't know. I really liked, I forget, the one that had King Baggot in it. I can't remember which year that was, but I liked that one. But I don't know, this may be my favorite Jekyll and Hyde from the silent era, anyways, of the bunch. It has John Barrymore, grandfather of Drew Barrymore, as the title character. And I don't know, in this one, when it came out, it had mixed review, or kind of a mixed reaction, but a lot of people really praised his work. Like, they all praised, like, John Barrymore as the character. The story itself was kind of hit or miss, they said, but they really liked John Barrymore as, Mr. Hyde. Or I guess Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. But anyways, yeah, I mean, this, like I said, I don't really know what to say about this one because I kind of already said everything about the other ones. I kind of agree. I think his performance kind of make this a step above the others. But I mean, it's the same basic, thing. He, takes the elixir, starts, wigging out, attacking others, trying to kill others, and then, eventually they all come to him, and he ends up taking his own life, and that's the end of that. And there it is, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. Boom. Number 3, easily. This thing had a 7.0 on IMDb and a 92% on Rotten Tomatoes. That don't sound very mixed at all, actually. That sounds like it's pretty high up there. So, either way, there you have it. That was Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. So, the number 2 film of 1920, or number 2 horror film of 1920, winner of the Silver Skull Award, movie called Genuine. This movie was the film that basically, I'm blanking on the guy's name, Werner Krauss, is that his name? Krauss? The director of The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. Well, he did this film as well, Genuine. And he did it afterwards, and it always gets kind of overshadowed. I'll be honest with you, as a member of the Academy, I struggled not making this number 1. Because I like both films. I like Genuine, I like The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. And I don't know, when I watched this one, I kind of dug it more initially. But then, when I reflect back on it, I'm just kind of like, I don't know. I feel like The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari just kind of deserves the golden one, just more for its thing. I don't know. Maybe it's controversial. This film plays out a lot like The Student of Prague. Just this girl who kind of puts, she comes in, just everyone just falls for her. They all fall in love with her, and it leads to just the downfall of this family, the town kind of thing. But the look of the film, it's very, like I said, it's very much in that German expressionistic, thing. This movie isn't as well known, so it has a 6.0 on IMDb. Doesn't even have a Rotten Tomatoes, so it's like that is what it is. I definitely recommend this though. I think you go out of your way. There are multiple versions, multiple runtimes, because whenever this thing did get released to a wider audience, because initially it was, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it was considered lost for a while, and when they found it, they sent it out. But then different producers cut it, and so you got different run times. So there's if you're not in something that long, there's a short version on YouTube. I think the longer version's on the Internet Archive, if I'm not mistaken. Either way, Genuine, number 2, and of course that leaves number 1. Winner of the Golden Skull Award, the number 1 horror film in 1920, The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. Caligari is this hypnotist that goes, town to town with this, I don't know what, somnolus, is that how you pronounce that? I don't know what the fuck that is. There's a dude in a coma that he can just say things and wake the guy up and make him do his bidding. And, of course, he makes him commit murders for him because Caligari is an evil guy. And Caesar's in a coma, so Caesar has to do what he says. So this is a film that I really dug when I watched it for the first time. A lot of people hate the ending, which is it was all a dream. This is all in the guy's head in a mental institution. I loved it. In fact, I loved it so much that years before I even watched this film, I did a story, wrote a script, never did do anything with it, but basically at the very end of the thing, when all is bleak and you think our main characters are going to die, it just cuts to this mental institution, and you realize that everybody who died was actually just other patients, and then one of them was going to be a doctor or whatever. But you realize all these people are inside this mental institution, and I thought that was the most brilliant. And you got to remember, I was like, I don't know, 18 or 19 when I came up with this. I thought it was the most brilliant twist in the history of cinema. Yeah, remember, I hadn't seen a whole lot at that time, but I thought it was brilliant. And then when I go back and look at it, and I was like, oh, this is brilliant. And then I watched this film like years later. Like, the script was pretty much just shelled. I didn't, follow through with it. But when I watched this movie, I was like, oh, shit, they stole my idea. And I'm like, oh, shit, this thing came out like fucking years ago, like 80 plus years ago. God damn it, that I stole it from them. So, but the thing is, like, everybody hates that ending, and I'm like, I don't know. I think the ending's fucking brilliant. That's what I loved about it. This one, like I said, it's very divisive. It's funny because when I'm reading everybody's like interviews and what people were saying about the film at the time, it's like it's all conflicting. Some people claim like, you know, that ending was tacked on because, you know, producers didn't like the idea that, you know, that the world would look this weird and, you know, out of it, and, you know, can't have that, you know, make it in the, you know, the mind of a madman. And then some people were just like, no, the script said that was the ending all along. And it just seems like everything was just kind of contradictory. If you get a chance, look into this, check it out. The story. I'm running a little long right now. I just hit the past the hour right now, so I'm gonna kind of wrap this up. But yeah, everybody just kind of has their own conflicting whatever about this movie. I enjoy it, but the problem I have with this, and the problem I have with a lot of the early silent films though, and even the ones on this list that we just talked about today, with the exception of the penalty, they all, even if they run an hour, which some of them run longer than that, it just seems like there's a lot of filler. And it's I don't know. A lot of times I find myself bored about midway through until the action picks back up. And, you know, Dr. Caligari is no exception there. But the look of the film's incredible. The storyline's awesome. And it's just, I don't know, it's really good. In fact, big, you know, if you're a big Rob Zombie fan, I remember, you know, I was a Rob Zombie fan before I saw this movie. So whenever I saw, you know, his video for Living Dead Girl, and then I see this movie, I'm like, oh shit, that's where he got it from. Like, awesome. This movie has an 8.1 on IMDb and 99% on Rotten Tomatoes. This film made like, I don't know, like a little bit less than like $4,000, but that's a lot back then in like, you know, 1920 money. So I mean, it was a huge hit. It was a huge fucking hit. Still is to this day. I mean, people, you know, this is like one of the go-tos when people get like public domain movies, or, you know, when you got to have something to play in the background on your film and you don't want to pay royalties. This is one of the go-tos. This, Night of the Living Dead, and Phantom of the Opera. You can't go wrong with any of those three. So, anyways, that's it. I'm going to wrap up this first episode. If you were listening, thank you very much for giving me your time. And, yeah, I'll just catch you guys next week.